20 years of magic, celebrating Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Hi, how are you? Great to see you. I'm RazMansReality, here to alter your reality on film, TV, and comics with unbiased reviews and discussion. So if this is your first time here and you share in that passion with me, then please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification icon so that you don't miss anything. June 26th, 2017 marks the 20th anniversary of the release of the book that changed my life and the life of the entire world as we know it for the better, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So I knew, because I am who I am, you see Harry Potter everywhere. I've got my poster, I've got my Hogwarts collection, I've got the import of the proper version of the first film so that has philosophers in the title. I even wore this today. My Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 t-shirt. So the saga really does mean everything to me and is responsible for shaping this Ravenclaw into who you know him to be today. So I knew for the 20th anniversary of the first book that I had to do something special. So you rack your brain and you rack your brain and you rack your brain and you're like, how do I express how I felt about this book and felt about this saga? And then you realize I don't really have an effective way to do it because, well, I've already done it, to quote Harry from The Prisoner of Azkaban. You see, on that release date, the release date of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 in the cinema, I had a short-lived internet radio show. Basically what you know as a podcast, but it was actually on what is known as an internet radio station. Something I would like to get back into, but that's another subject for another time. But in, I think, my second or third episode, the day that my show aired just happened to be that very release date. So I chose to do a little something I called 14 Years of Magic, celebrating the Harry Potter saga at the time, with my friend on YouTube, last known as Blind Jimmy Jefferson, at the time of the recording known as Polite Mediocrity, where we talked about the entire saga. Now, if you all would ever like to hear that here on YouTube, for those of you that never heard it over the radio airwaves at the time, let me know that in the comment section down below, and that's something I'll work on for the future. But when it came time to put this together, I realized that I really, really wanted to re-air that because it encapsulates everything that I feel about the saga. So I pieced together just the portion where we talk about the first story, the book and the film, and I've used photos and sort of recreated it for you. And I've cleaned up the audio to give it that same sound that I use in all my videos now, the best sound that I believe my voice can have. So I hope that it turns out well for you. Just keep in mind, however, that when I recorded this, I was brand new at audio and my mic was terrible and my production skills were terrible. So there's only so much you can do with a bad original recording, but I've done my best. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will be back with some closing thoughts afterwards. 1997, the release of Philosophers, aka Sorcerers. We'll get into that in a second. So we have plenty to say about that. But 1997, the release of the Philosopher's Stone. Where were you the first time you read that book?
In school. It was in the school library. And I was kind of confused because it was kind of a big book, and some words I didn't even know existed in there. So it wasn't very childish. There was other ones in there that I read. I was 7 years old, so it was kind of weird seeing this really sort of adulty book on the shelves. So I read it, and I quite well. I didn't like it at first, which is the thing. As a kid, I got quite distressed by the first book, but I finished it, and by the end of it, I was kind of a bit iffy about it, and then by the second book, the second book was a lot better to me. But yeah, and the first movie was, I got into it a lot more with the first movie than I did with the first book. Didn't really like the first book.
Well, talking about the differences between the book and the film, Philosopher's Stone, to me, that there is none. I mean, that adaptation is like word for word straight from the book. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. But as a kid, the book seemed a lot more dark than the movie. The movie was a lot more light-hearted, which is probably why I liked it more than the book.
Well, it really is a tremendous establisher. I mean, you're hooked with J.K. Rowling's writing from the word go. I mean, the idea of a kid who didn't know that he had these magical powers,
Yeah.
and then he ends up having the entire world put on his shoulders right from the time he gets to the world. People are saying to him, "You're the savior of our world." I mean, you knew this was a very different journey that you're about to embark on right from the very beginning, and I found that so powerful.
Yeah. Well, the only problem I had, and I don't want to get into rant mode, so I'm just going to be quick about it. But the only problem I had was, there was, in the book at least, and I was 7 years old when I read it, so my mind was a bit different than it was now. But it was so dark from beginning to end. I was bullied as a kid, so anything that has bullying in it, I kind of, have to force myself to read it. But from the beginning, it starts off with Harry and his family of, well, basically bullies, mean people, and then it moves on into everyone, like, except for his two friends. Everyone seems to be really intimidating in the book and trying to really intimidate, Harry. So there was really no, happy area for me in the book.
It's interesting that you bring that up because there's this stigma about Harry Potter being a children's series, and it is so not a children's series because right from Philosopher's Stone, I mean, here's this kid who, as you said, the only family he's ever known is bullies. His parents are dead from the moment he's born.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid is emotionally scarred right from the moment we meet him. So this idea of it being a children's series, I just will never understand.
Well, that's how it was marketed, wasn't it? I mean, it was in every school by the time it came out, and not even like secondary school, not high school, but it was primary school, elementary school. These kids were reading Harry Potter, so it was kind of weird because it was definitely an adult book, and you could tell as it progressed, it got more and more dark, if that was possible.
Oh, absolutely. By the end, which we're gonna cover everything here, folks. This may be a 2-hour show, maybe a 3-hour show. I mean, who knows? But we are celebrating the magic of Harry Potter, which is the point.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is that while, yes, it had children in it in the beginning, I mean, for those that don't know, quick recap, the story arc from Philosopher's Stone to Deathly Hallows is a 7-year arc, and it goes from the time a wizard is 11 to the time a witch or wizard is 17, which is adulthood in the wizarding world. So, yeah, they're kids when it starts out, but they're not kids. I mean, 11 is pretty close to teenage years. So, I never really quite got the idea of marketing it toward children, and I think J.K. Rowling, actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think I know. and I'm sure you'll agree with me because we both read so many interviews over the years. She gets aggravated when people call it a children's book because she was like, anyone that says this is a children's series has never read my book.
Yeah, basically, it's an adult book. Yeah, it's fancy. It's kind of light-hearted at times. I think Chamber of Secrets would probably be the most childish of the lot. But past that, everything is pretty dark,
Well,
and pretty much everything is.
yeah, sorry about that. Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes the Skype audio, for those of you that haven't heard me do interviews before, sometimes my audio goes a little funky, and I think a person's done and they're not actually done. So bear with me. But what I was saying is that the story in Philosopher's Stone actually tells you what the tone of the entire series is going to be, and that is that you think you have something figured out, and you don't have a clue. Because throughout that entire story, the trio believes that Snape is the one trying to steal the Philosopher's Stone, when in actuality it ends up being Quirrell. So, my next question is, what was your reaction when you first read the twist, or first knew about the twist?
I don't know. I didn't really notice it was a twist at first when I read it because, well, they didn't really go into that much, did they? That character. They went into Snape a lot, and they basically said, this guy's evil. Every description of him was basically this guy, evil guy, all the way. And the other guy was a bit of a weasel, not really forefront of the whole thing. So I don't know. At the start, it was a lot more twisty for me the second time round, even though I knew it was him. They showed it a lot better when I was a bit older and I read it again. But
Yeah,
at first, it wasn't really.
I understand what you mean by that. Sometimes first impressions aren't always the best impressions, but the point is that everyone thinks that Snape is the antagonist and it wasn't Snape. And once that was established, to me, I was like, this series is going to be tremendous and I'm hooked for life because it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to read and figure out. You're going to have to go from the first page to the last page to get the attention of the story, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And now, of course, fast forward to 2001, when the film adaptation arrived. I was thrilled that they were going to bring the books to film. I thought they were made to be brought to film. But then is when you kind of had to classify yourself, for lack of a better way to put it, into a book Harry Potter fan and a film Harry Potter fan. Because the book fans were able to watch the film and go, this is missing, that's changed. And it really, the first couple times you watch Philosopher's Stone, the film, you kind of were like, is this the same story? I mean, it's a very straightforward adaptation, as we said, but you learn right from the get-go that there are things that have to be cut out in film media. But overall, I was absolutely amazed by it, and I think the things that they took out of Philosopher's Stone are minimal, and they don't really matter to the story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I noticed as well. Especially with the first one, they didn't leave out anything crucial to the story, and that's basically what the movie should be doing, is just doing the story. And Harry Potter is an extremely visual series.
It is. That's why I said it was perfect to be made into a film, because even when you're reading the books, you're picturing this world in your mind, and the films have done such a great job of bringing that to life.
Yeah.
Especially the later films.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing. The whole thing is amazing, and before we can get off of Philosopher's Stone, unfortunately we have to talk about the big controversy, which is over here on my side of the world. it's known by a different title, which is
Yeah.
and the Sorcerer's Stone. And myself, like every other hardcore American Harry Potter fan, thinks that that is the most asinine thing they've ever heard. Because the reasoning that the publishers gave for changing the name of the book is, and I quote, Americans won't know what a philosopher is. I mean, how ridiculously dumb do they think Americans have to be? I mean, even as a Brit, you have to admit that that is really degrading.
It is. It's pretty stupid to me because I don't want to go back to the whole children's thing that they're trying to market it to children. But even if they were saying, well, children aren't going to know what a philosopher is, so they're not going to pick up the book, that's pretty stupid as well. Basically, you don't shelter children from words they don't know. You wait. Well, it helps them. They can go to a parent or something and say, "What's a philosopher?" And if the parent doesn't say what it just says, "I don't know what a philosopher is," they'll go on, I don't know, Wikipedia or something. But it's pretty. Either way, it's pretty stupid.
Yeah, it was a really stupid thing, and it was even worse for the actors of the trio because they had to make two different recordings of the film. Like they recorded the entire film, and then they had to go back, and every time they said the word philosopher, they had to say the word sorcerer. And so,
Really?
yeah, so it was just like basically like whenever we go to edit video or audio here,
Yeah.
it is basically like them just having like the word sorcerer said like 50 times. We know about the sorcerer's stone. The sorcerer's stone. The what? You know, it was so it wasn't the whole film. It was just every time they said the word philosopher, they had to replace it with the word sorcerer. So I can't imagine what nightmare that was.
Yeah. And the only reason I can think of about them changing it to sorcerer is that, well, a philosopher isn't very wizardy, and a sorcerer is. So they wouldn't know what the story is about if they see Philosopher's Stone.
But the thing is, if you look up the word philosopher in the dictionary, it has the same meaning as a sorcerer. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah. But there's also, uh,
The
the
stigma,
whole.
I guess. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. The idea that a sorcerer, you hear the word, is magical. Yeah. I never really thought of it that way. That's a good point, Adam.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the only reason I can think of, other than them thinking that everyone's an idiot. Which I don't want to think, because that's not a
Right,
great thing
because
to be telling your
no, it's not a great
audience.
thing to be telling your kids or anyone. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And then, of course, from the film standpoint, what did you think of the actors, particularly the trio, the first time you saw them in action? I mean, is this how you pictured Harry, Ron, and Hermione in your head? Hermione less so, but because she's predicted or projected as a little bit ugly in the book. But of course, when you adapted it to film, you knew they really couldn't put an ugly star on the screen because no one would pay attention.
Yeah.
But character-wise, I thought Emma was perfect for Hermione, and I love Rupert as Ron and Dan as Harry. So how do you feel about it? Do you think they made the right choices there?
I think so. I think Harry and Ron were well, the actors who played them were perfect. Probably Dan more so, but I definitely saw what the character that Rupert portrayed as Ron. That was pretty much spot on as well. And even Emma as Hermione was pretty much perfect. That kind of snobbish Britishness was pretty much spot on as well. So yeah, I was really impressed by it, and everyone who played the teachers, they were all pretty much spot on as well. So
Well,
I was really impressed.
yeah, I was gonna save that for the wrap up of the entire series, but since you brought it up and we did bring up cast and the first stories where the casting started, let's just talk about the phenomenal job that Warner Brothers has done, landing every iconic British actor that is in existence in the world. It's pretty much been in the Harry Potter films over the last 10 years. I mean, it's amazing, this cast. It
It
really is.
it it is an extremely impressive, especially as a Brit. Like these are all the biggest, names that England have. Especially the guy who played Snape. I can't remember his name, which is kind of blasphemy. What was his name?
Alan Rickman.
That's it, Alan Rickman. He is my favourite British actor of all time. He's amazing, especially in Die Hard. That was a brilliant portrayal. But he was brilliant. Maggie Smith is also awesome. Um, Obviously Dumbledore.
Well, Dumbledore's been played by not one but two
Yeah,
iconic British actors, unfortunately. He was played by Richard Harris
yeah,
in Philosophers and Chambers, and then he's played throughout the rest of the saga after Harris unfortunately lost the battle to cancer by Sir Michael Gambon. And
yeah,
even me as an American knows that if you get the word sir attached to your name, you're pretty big.
yeah.
You're pretty I
Mhm.
mean, but that's something that want you to do as the British host of the show. Just talk more about that. Talk about how established these stars were, and the fact that there's really something special about the Harry Potter saga for some people that, well, all people that were already that big to lend their names to it and be so willing to be a part of it.
Well, unless you're going to say something like Macbeth or something, uh, movie adaptations of those kind of books, then not really. No, it's quite special that they got so many of them.
Yeah, it really is a testament to the power of a story and to J.K. Rowling's writing because, again, it's so visual and so theatrical. I mean, from the moment you read Philosopher's Stone, you're like, I want to see this on the big screen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's amazing stuff. And so, despite the fact that half the world thinks Americans are idiots, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was a wonderful beginning.
It truly was a wonderful beginning and the start of a saga that changed my life and the life of all of you in this world forever. So please share with me in the comments section down below your memories of the Harry Potter saga and in particular your memories of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And if you'd like to pick up anything Harry Potter related, I'll have links to the books and the films down below in the description via Amazon affiliate links. No additional cost to you, but affords me the opportunity to gain future things that can be used for material for the channel. So it's greatly appreciated. Thank you from the bottom of all our hearts, JK, for the joy your magic has given us all for these last 20 years. If you want your reality altered on film, TV, and comics with unbiased reviews and discussion, and you haven't already subscribed to me, you can do so right now by hitting the round icon down below me, and to the right, you can see my breakdown of the latest episode of Doctor Who, World Enough and Time, and see my reaction to the latest Game of Thrones Season 7 trailer. And as always, this has been your RazMansReality Check.